In these sessions last year and the year before with Flip, he always emphasized that he wants 1 first down a game from Carson on his feet. Is that still an initiative from this coaching staff? Is that still something you want to see?
Yeah, absolutely. I think any time that your quarterback can create with his legs, it's really an issue for a defense. You know, oftentimes he's the one not accounted for. I think you think back to the Jacksonville game, he did a great job extending some plays and creating some first downs with his legs, not just on third down. He had one, I think, on 3rd and 10, but he had a 2nd and 9 scramble, I think that was a big one. And then the first Giants game did a great job creating some plays with his legs as well. So, yeah, that's something we're always trying to emphasize and show him, just kind of examples of being able to create and extend plays and get some yards with your feet down the field.
I was going to say those 2 games, the Colts game too, he had it, but the other games he has not really tucked it away.
Right.
Is that because of the offense? Is it because of the injury? Is there a specific reason for it?
Well, I think another point is, you know, he's doing a great job of progressing through plays and finding checkdowns. I think there were times maybe in the past where he was looking for something down the field and then it was just kind of his instinct to take off running, and now he's really, like Coach always says, he knows where every bone is buried in the offense. So he knows, I'm not throwing it here because of this look here. I've got this guy in the flat. And I think he's doing a good job of finding checkdowns sometimes more last year where maybe there were some instances where he took off and ran.
We spoke to Jake Gruden today, and he brought up that Monday night game last year when Carson had those big runs. Is that something that can help this offense, you think, or would you like to keep him passing the way he is?
I think he's doing a great job passing, protecting the ball. I mean, if the situation calls for it to take off and make a play with your legs, then absolutely, we're all for him doing that and protecting himself and moving the chains for us.
How much time does Groh spend in the quarterback room?
He's in there. He's probably back and forth between us and the receivers probably half the week, I'd say, with them. And we're in and out, kind of whether it's game planning or watching practice. Kind of depends on what the day is and what the practice was.
And as an OC, like what's the role when he comes into that room? Is it just more of an overseer, or is it some? Does he?
It's probably a little bit of both. Very similar to how it's been in the past, where he comes in, he's kind of an overseer, and obviously if he has something or he's communicating the reasons why for a game plan, then he'll take over the meeting there and does a great job with that, and the guys really respond to him well, and there's good conversation. That's the best part of it.
Carson is clearly healthy enough to play and perform at a high level. He's almost reaching a full year from when the injury happened. Over the weekend, there was a report that in terms of planting his left foot, it's not quite. I don't know if I'm wording it correct, but 100% there yet. Have you noticed anything with that?
I can't say that I have noticed that. I mean, you'd have to ask our medical staff if they've noticed anything, but nothing's been brought to my attention in terms of that.
What have you seen from Carson bouncing back from the performance he had against New Orleans? How was he in the week leading up to the game against the Giants?
He was great. You know, he has an approach every single week to just take that week as it is. So whether it's win or loss, he's going to approach it the same way. I don't think there was any extra panic in anybody, and really our offense as a whole, none of us performed well. So I think all those guys just really wanted to get back to work. And one of the hard parts is that you now have a week to wait to play another game. So they want to get back out there immediately and play right away and get the taste out of their mouth and prove that that's not the offense we are.
And what did it mean for him in the fourth quarter to not only bring the team from behind, but after the Giants tied it, he went and led another game-winning field goal drive there?
Right. I mean, I think that's huge. The ultimate role of a quarterback is to make sure your team gets the win. So however that comes about, whether that's we build an early lead and we hold on to it or we have to come from behind, that's what he's trying to do every single game. The situation just presented itself where it was a comeback win, and he did a great job responding to it.
I know you worked with the wideouts last year, but if you think back to that Washington game, just watching Carson, what stood out about that? That was kind of as well as he's played since he's been here.
There were just a lot of plays, too, in that game that he made that you don't coach it. It's nothing. You know, the coming out of the pile, making a play. He had the touchdown throw down the sideline to Corey Clement. Stuff like that, we're moving. He just has a feel for where guys are. That's just kind of the instinct ability that he has, that he was able to make some plays. That was fun to watch. That was a special game for him.
Is it something you looked at this week simply because you're playing Washington?
Absolutely. Same defense coordinator.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll always go back and see anytime we've played these defense coordinators in the past, kind of what their plan was, what worked for us, how we can respond to certain things. So we're definitely looking at it.
And so in the meeting room when that game's on, what's the reaction when you see those plays?
We've probably seen it so many times now that there's not quite the awe there probably was the day after when you watched it on film. So now it's more of a routine thing, but there will still be somebody will say, how did you get out of this? Or, how did you feel that? So that still comes up at times.
What's it like to replace someone in a position when he was at the position they won the Super Bowl? You step in some big shoes. What's it like?
I mean, either way, I think every single year you take it as its own challenge. So I don't compare this year to last year. But it's been fun. I've really enjoyed this role that I'm in and getting to work with these guys, so I've enjoyed it.
You got to know Flip's coaching style. I mean,
Right.
Is it fair to say that you guys have two very different approaches, and have you incorporated, learning from him, different things in the room?
Absolutely. I think I've tried to incorporate a lot of the things that I felt fit my personality that I noticed in Flip's coaching style. Same with Frank, same with the other guys. I think you're kind of shaped by the people you've been around in the past, and so I've tried to, as much as it fits my personality, take the things that I noticed and really liked about other people's coaching style. So try to make things that the quarterbacks responded to that Coach Flip did, or just things that I felt like were really effective.
You
like
were
this first
close to
season now-
Frank. I mean, obviously there's been a running narrative about his loss, but I know you were close to him. I mean, what do you miss about having him around here?
To Frank?
Frank, yeah.
Frank was just a great person to be around. You really enjoyed going in and just sitting and talking to Frank and sharing stories. Our wives got to be good friends, and we're close. So he's just somebody that you could always go in and talk to about anything, whether it's football. I really enjoyed learning from him and Flip, but it's the same thing with Groh and Coach Pederson. Those are guys I've leaned on a lot to gain some knowledge off those guys and continue to grow in my coaching ability.
How do you feel like this first year for you has gone, taking control of the QB room, your first time as the full-time coach on the staff? I mean, how do you feel like it's progress for you?
I feel good about it. I feel like I continue to grow every single week, and just like anything, like any position I was in, I feel like I've continued to maybe attain more knowledge to really figure out what works best for me, and then also for the quarterbacks, I'm able to get the most out of them. So, like any year I've had in coaching, I've tried to just continue to grow and get better at what I do.
When you guys have faced adversity this year, things haven't gone your way, what do you notice about Doug's approach and his demeanor as kind of the one everyone's looking to figure out, which way it's going to go?
He's pretty unflappable, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of situations we were in, really in the 3 years that he's been here, where you really don't see him blink. I mean, there's no change in his demeanor. There's no change in the messaging, the tone. We're going to go every single week. We're going to prepare to win that week, and we know that it takes us Monday to Saturday, and what we put in is going to be what we put on the field Sunday. So I think he's done a great job of keeping everybody in the moment throughout this thing.
You've been on different staffs. How is that helpful as a coach on the head coach's staff when he is that steady or doesn't go with the ups and downs?
No, I mean, it's great. Obviously, that's the person everybody looks to. He sets the tone for the team every single week. So when you have a guy that's unflappable like he is, then your team continues to feed off that and just continues to go about their business.
We're a few weeks here from facing the Rams. We're not going to get you again. Your brother, obviously, is, coaches there, and Goff. I'm sure you guys exchanged some notes about Goff versus Wentz. What do you make of those two? I mean, two of the youngest, best young quarterbacks in the league.
Right, they're always going to be compared forever. Obviously, being 1 and 2. I think they're in different systems. They have a different style of play. So people will always want to compare them, but I mean, ultimately, I think it's just fun to see two young quarterbacks really playing well and continuing to grow every single year in their game. That really, the league's got a lot of really good young quarterbacks that it's fun to watch and see all these guys grow as they go in their career.
Do you both kind of remark on how, I guess not say lucky, but
Absolutely. We realize how fortunate we are to work with the guys we get to work with and the systems we get to work in. So, I'm very excited for my brother and all the success he's had with the Rams, and wish that they continue to have success other than when we play them, obviously.
Do you check out his games? Do you watch his games?
We get a chance throughout the weeks kind of to study the league in general, but obviously if there's ever crossover games, then you get a chance to really sit down and watch the game. So it's been a chance to.
Have you ever coached against him?
We've coached against each other twice now. So he was at the Dolphins. When we played them, they came up here and beat us. And then obviously last year we got one. So this is kind of our rubber match right here.
What's your kind of weekly routine with him in terms of catching up? Do you have like a day where you get a phone call just to see how each other's doing? Or?
It's pretty tough now. There's a 3-hour time difference. So with our schedules, when I'm driving in early in the morning, he's asleep. When I'm going home at night, they're in the middle of their meetings. So it's more text messages throughout the week, and then maybe Friday night we'll get a chance to catch up on the phone real quick if my wife will let me.
The trophy is still up for grabs.
We have a trophy. Yeah. My dad has it at his office, so it's definitely up for grabs. So.
What's the rest of the family? What will their stance be when the Rams play the Eagles?
Well, they're staying at my sister-in-law's, so I think they kind of have to be, when they're at home at least, they have to be Rams. But in the stands, they're very neutral, rooting for the offense. So that's the best way to go about it, I think.
Carson's obviously very confident in himself,
right.
Strong-willed. How do you approach it when you guys come to, I don't know if it's an impasse, but if it's where you feel like you need to really coach him on this, where there might be resistance? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, he's like any competitor. He obviously is in every situation he's in, he's trying to do the best thing he can, but he wants to be coached. That's the thing about him that makes him great, I think, is he's continuing to look at his own game and how he can continue to get better and lead this team to just do better things. And so I think he's pretty self-aware of the things that he needs to work on. So when there is a situation where he needs some tough coaching, he handles it well. He does a good job with that.
Has that been something that you've grown into? I mean, you know, a younger coach in the league, and
right.
you guys have like a you know, really good relationship, it seems like, as well. I mean, to be able to challenge him in the necessary spots, is that something that you've grown into?
I think so, and I think our relationship has helped that. So I feel like I kind of know what buttons to push with Carson and what he wants out of this thing ultimately, so you can always kind of draw back on this. Well, here's what you've told me about yourself. And so if there's a time to challenge him, I think he knows where I'm coming from because of the relationship we have together. So it's been a good working relationship.
What's one or two thing that Mike has brought to being OC that's kind of, that you're like, oh, that's been really, really productive, something new that we haven't done here before that you really appreciated?
Well, having spent last year with Mike down in the receivers room too, Mike brings great energy to those guys. And so to be able to see him, you know, I got to see him lead a meeting every single day last year in front of the receivers, and the energy he brought with those guys. And it was really a new group last year. To see him now bring that to the whole offense and the energy he has in front of those guys, I think has been really fun. And so for myself and the receivers, it was something we saw. But now the quarterback's getting a chance to see that. The offensive line getting a chance to see that and feed off that energy he brings has been really good. And then he's got great attention to detail, I think, that's really helped us, I think.
Do you think you and your brother have similar philosophies, similar personalities, or are you different?
I think we're pretty similar. You know, obviously growing up in the same household under the same parents has obviously shaped us to be very similar. Now, our football careers have gone a different paths. He kind of grew up in the West Coast system. That's kind of where his roots come from. And myself was probably more in a spread background through my playing career and then coaching in college. So there's been some crossover in terms of things like that, especially when Coach Pederson got here. So we've leaned on each other for knowledge, but we've probably come through different paths in terms of the coaching systems we've been in.
Carson's body language after that interception against the Saints, he said later in the week that he kind of regretted that and wished he didn't do it. It feels like fans were kind of
right.
like, he's showing he's angry, we're
right.
angry, we don't have a problem with it. What's your kind of take on showing that frustration and sort of what talks you had with him after that?
Yeah, I mean, as the leader of the team, we'd love him to be even-keeled throughout. Now, at the same time, we want that emotion out of our leader when something good happens. So we understand there's going to be times where he's frustrated. Now, he understands that everybody, like we talked about Coach Pederson, everybody's eyes are always on him. So we want him, we never want to let him see us sweat. So obviously he was very frustrated. He was caught up in the moment and showed a little emotion, which is at times it's good, at times it's bad. But I think he understands he wants to be that even-keeled leader that guys continue to look through, and he just lost his head for 1 second, and I think he handled it well.
What's the scouting report that's Washington front seven, especially with the success Carson had against them last year?
I think they're just a big, strong, heavy-handed group. I mean, they're really a physical front seven. They do a good job. They really want to work to stop the run, and then they can get after the passer pretty well. They have some good edge rushers that have played well against us. So, I mean, it's a big physical unit. It's going to be a big test for us, I think.